Not since the horrors of the Black Plague has our land seen such despair. Almost 2 millennia after Sigmar founded the Empire, the realm is fractured and broken. 3 rival factions claim the Imperial crown: Marienburg, Middenheim, and Reichland. Lure of power brings the armies of men against one another in a seemingly endless tide of battle. An island of peace in a sea of conflict, Mordheim drew wealth such as the city had never seen into its walls. But with its prosperity came the corruption of arrogance and hedonism and greed.
Welcome to our introduction to Mordheim, City of the Damned. I'm Black Cat Red River. You've been listening to and watching the wonderful introductory vignette for Mordheim's video game, which was first released back in 2015 by Cyanide Studios, which is a video game developer that has offices in Paris and Montreal. Mordheim was released on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. And it's based, on the Warhammer universe, broadly speaking, and was originally a Games Workshop tabletop strategy and miniatures game. And it still has a following to this day. The original tabletop miniatures game, that is. The video game shares some similarities with Blood Bowl, as they are both set in the Warhammer universe. They both are turn-based strategy games in which the player develops a team, or in this case, a warband, and individual members develop skills over time as they level up. Or, alternatively, they get injured and die. So like Blood Bowl, the life of a skirmisher in Mordheim is often nasty, brutish, and short. Also, in Blood Bowl, the map, if you will, is a fixed football field or pitch divided into clearly delineated squares. But in Mordheim, there are a series of maps for the ruined city of Mordheim, and movement is less structured. Instead of a grid, each character can spend action points to perform certain kinds of maneuvers or travel a certain distance. But the movement itself is fairly freeform. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the setup process to show you how a warband is created and customized. There are 4 standard and 2 DLC warband options. 3 are considered agents of order, and 3 are considered agents of chaos. So on the left side of the screen here are Order, the Witch Hunters, the Human Mercenaries, and the Sisters of Sigmar. And on the right side are Chaos, the Cult of the Possessed, the Skaven or Ratmen, and the Undead. Now, the Witch Hunters and the Undead are DLC warbands. You won't be able to play them without those DLCs. But the other 4 are standard with the basic game. In addition to the DLC warbands, there are some additional character DLCs that you can acquire as well. These are special heroes that can be hired by different warbands. So, for example, the Poison Globadier, who's a Ratman, a special Ratman character, and the Human Smuggler, who's a kind of a pirate character. So these kinds of special characters have unique skills and can be hired by multiple warbands.
Stone in the ruins, ready for the taking. But there's other things in the ruins too. You've got those murdering maniacs from the Rock, ready to kill anyone they find with even the smallest shard on them. They're bad, but even worse are the degenerates who've taken to worshipping the comet that smashed Mordheim. They're twisted in both mind and body, and will happily dump your body into the pit as an offering to their Shadow Lord. You'll even see things you wouldn't believe prowling the ruins. The verminous underfold, the Skaven of legend, are quite real, I assure you.
In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a basic starter warband using the Human Mercenaries as our template. I'll also show you how to buy and sell equipment for your warband members in the shop and how to get started with quests or missions in the campaign section of your warband menu.
And you might just survive.
This screen is your War Camp menu, and it's the basic home screen when you're not on an actual mission. The most important tabs to familiarize yourself with at the outset are the Warband Management tab, where you can basically peruse your warband members, their skills, their equipment, their injuries, and so on, and where you can hire or fire members. The shop, where you can buy and sell equipment. The campaign, where you can look at possible missions to go on. And the next day button that will unlock, where you can pass time, advance time a day, and allow new campaigns to appear. But those are the basic ones that you need to familiarize yourself with at the outset. So let's get started. The first place to go really is the Warband Management tab. Now, every time you start a new warband, you will begin with a leader already made or hired or in place for that warband type. In this case, my default Human Mercenary leader is a captain named von Falkenberg. At the bottom of the screen, you can move between the leader and other warband members once you've actually hired them. There's slots for leaders, heroes, and henchmen, and at the beginning of the game, you are limited to 1 hero and 3 henchmen. The bottom leftmost tab, the Warband tab, gives you details about your warband as a whole and lets you rename your warband. And of course, when you do click on the individual member of your band, you get more detail. You can look at their attributes, their action and strategic points, or offensive and strategic points. You can also take a look at their inventory, what weapons they're carrying and so on, whether they have armor or helmets, whether they have missiles. You can look at their skills tab to see if they begin with any active or passive skills. And of course, as with all of the characters, you can rename them to something that you prefer if you don't wish to use their default name. So here you can see on the inventory tab that the leader starts with a sword, and you can see what the sword's stats are. So it gives +5 to initiative. It does a damage of between 16 to 24, and so on, right? It also allows you to parry if you don't have a shield. But he also has a shield, which allows the use of the parry stance, and so on and so forth. And he has basic clothing. So nothing fancy, no helmet, no missile weapon. He's got basic items. And that's what you can see on the inventory page. Now you can also go to the skills tab for each character. And here it shows that our leader starts with a passive skill called Swift Reaction that increases his parry chance by 10% and also offers a counter-offensive strike bonus. And in the customization tab, you can customize your appearance as well as change your character's name. And you can also add biographical details if you wish. So let's go ahead and change his name. I'm going to call him Captain Flint, based on the character from the Black Sails television show. So I imagine my little band of mercenaries to be like a little group of pirates. Now, back into the Warband tab, you can see that your Warband starts at level 0, basically, and it can also level up. So as you level up, you will gain more hero slots and more henchman slots and more reserve slots, so your warband can increase in size. And your warband cart capacity, which is to say your storage, the storage slots in your cart, can increase as well, which means that when you're on missions, you can carry more loot. And that sort of thing. So, and it shows you what the next rank, what you'll get, what your bonus will be upon reaching the next rank or level. So upon hitting rank 1, we'll get +1 henchman slot, and so on. And it also shows you at a glance what your status is, if you've got unpaid debts, if any of your band members are in training and unavailable for missions as a result, or are injured, and so on and so forth. Now let's also go ahead and change the name of our warband to something more fitting for a group of cutthroat pirates. Something fitting for Captain Flint and his crew. The Black Corsairs. Sounds good. Now, when you click on one of the empty hero or henchman buttons at the bottom of that page there, you'll get options now to hire new warriors. Generic term warrior for anybody, really. And you can see at the bottom here, you have a few options. It shows you their class type with a symbol and their starting rank, usually 0, but sometimes higher, and how much gold they'll cost to hire. it can be important to look at them fairly closely because not all potential hires of a particular type are the same. Sometimes they have different ranks, sometimes they have different equipment, slightly different attributes, and their gold prices can vary. So there's a range of things, even if they all say that they are this hero youngblood type, or the archer, or whatever, right? The marksman, I guess, is what they're calling this archer. The henchman warrior, the wolf priest of Ulrich, whatever they are, they can differ even within the same class type. Now, I should note here that the wolf priests of Ulrich and the smugglers, the female smuggler pirate types, those are both DLC heroes that you have to acquire separately. They don't come standard with Mordheim. There is a hero called the Youngblood that is standard. But the wolf priests and the smuggler is one of my favorites, they come separately. The henchmen, however, the marksman and the basic warrior and the basic marksman, those are standard. They're also cheaper. You'll notice that the henchmen cost generally 15 gold for a rank 0 henchman, and the heroes cost 50, or you've got these special ones that are free. Those are kind of like a bonus that you get with the DLC. You can hire some heroes for free. But one of the major differences between a hero and a henchman is the number of action points that the heroes get. If you look at the top left of their stat page, you'll see these red dots and blue dots. The red dots are what are called offensive points, and the blue ones are strategic points. And the heroes start with more and can get more than the henchmen. And what that effectively means is that they can do more in a given turn. They have more points to spend on actions. And that makes them a lot more effective. Another thing you'll notice in the right-hand column in the description section is it will show you their equipment proficiencies, the kinds of weapons that they're allowed to take, the kinds of ranged weapons they're allowed to use, the kinds of armor they're allowed to wear, and if they have any special perks or abilities. So it's important to take a look at that. It's also important to tab over to the injuries section here as well, because I have, to my dismay, in the past, I have actually bought or hired a warrior who started off with terrible injuries, permanent injuries. So sometimes that can occur, so it's good to just be safe and check that out to make sure they're not injured. But so let's go ahead. I'm going to hire this smuggler as my hero for my warband of pirates. Now, our rank 0 warband is allowed to have a maximum number of 5 active warband members at the beginning, and that's all I'm going to buy at the beginning. I'm just going to buy the 1 hero and 3 henchmen. Zooming in on our smuggler, we can check out her stats. and we can check out her equipment. So she starts with a pair of pistols as a missile weapon. So she's got a sword and dagger instead of sword and shield, light armor or clothing, I think, and dueling pistols. So she does have a ranged attack, which is very nice. One of the other smugglers, if you noticed, that we could have hired instead of having dueling pistols, had a long blunderbuss rifle. So her active skills that she starts with are the black powder trap, which is her unique trap ability. She can place basically an explosive down that enemies can run into and become injured. Now the henchman marksmen, obviously they're specialized more in missiles than in melee combat, and you can see in their description that they can use not just bows and crossbows, but handguns, hunting rifles, longbows, pistols, and blunderbusses. So they do have a range of missiles that they can use, but they generally start with the bow, or a type of bow. And they're relatively cheap, so I'm going to probably buy 2 of the marksmen and 1 of the warrior henchmen. Now this henchman warrior starts out dual wielding a mace and a hammer. You can keep them with their starting equipment the way they are if you wish, but you don't have to. You can outfit them differently. You can go into the shop and see if there's anything else that you'd prefer them to have. Now I'm going to go ahead and rename some of my henchmen here as well. Instead of Leonhard Volkensen, this archer will be Billy Crow. And next up we've got Thomas Sparks. Will be our next archer. And our warrior henchman, Hans Godner. Tempting to name him Hans Gruber after Die Hard, but no, I think we'll call him something else. Perhaps he's an Irish pirate. We'll name him something cliched like Devlin O'Shea. Yeah, that's it. And there you have it. That's our starting band, at least in terms of the basic hires. I kind of like the name Edda, but I might change her last name to something. Let's see. How about something early modern like Edda Godwin, after the English anarchist William Godwin. And there we have our basic starting group. So what's left to do now? Well, we can just check out the store to see if there's any items we'd like to upgrade on our Warband members. You'll see here that upon hiring all 5 of our Warband, the shop is now open, as well as the campaign tab on the war camp menu. So the left column shows you the recent arrivals in the market, and it shows you when the market wares will be refreshed. So it's going to take 8 days for new items to come in. And the right hand column shows you all the items that are available in the market. You can sort them by type, or you can look at the full list, and it'll show you how many of each type there are available. So for example, there's 2 amulets, there's 3 shields, there's 1 helmet, and so on. And it shows you the gold cost of each of those. And this is where you can sell items as well once you start acquiring loot on missions. Items of exceptional quality will show up as color-coded blue or purple as well. But for now, at the beginning of the game, most of that will be white, which is the most common types. Now, the skirmish tab is the tab that's there for playing against other players online, friendly players that you know, or less than friendly players. I would suggest you avoid that for the moment and stick to the campaign tab, which is going to teach you how to actually play the game. In this tab, you will see different icons showing up on the map, and you can mouse over them and they will give you short little synopses or summaries of what the mission is going to entail. If you wish to have more options, you can send out scouts using the Send Scouts button at a cost of 5 gold and acquire additional mission options as well. But you don't have to do that. You can stick with what's there. So that is the very basic stuff related to creating your own warband. When you are ready to click on a mission, this will pop up and it will give you the option to launch or launch and deploy. I'll go into the differences between those in the next episode when we actually engage in our very first mission. But for now, this is probably a good place to wrap up this episode. And until then, watch your back in the streets of Mordheim.